We can pass pointers to functions just like we pass values and references. When we pass a pointer to a function, we're essentially passing it by reference since we have access to the underlying value via the memory address, just like we would with a reference parameter. That means that we can rewrite the swap program that we wrote earlier using pointers, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but first let's look at a more simple example. Let's say we want a function that resets or reinitializes a value to its default. So for example, for an integer variable, the default of an integer variable's value is always 0. So we're going to write a function called reinit, and it will take an integer pointer to a value. And within the body, all we have to do is write *val equals 0. And then whenever that function is called, it will take its pointer argument and change the underlying value to 0. Let's demonstrate how it works by writing a little program to test it. So we're going to say int1 is equal to 100. Cout num1 indel. Then we're going to call the function reinit with a address of operator followed by the variable that we want to change, num1, and then write it out again. Let's build and run the program. And so we see that num1 goes from 100 to 0. So now let's see how we would rewrite swap, which is a little more practical example of using pointers and functions. So we'll call this function pswap to differentiate it from our reference swap program. The two parameters will be two pointers, *n1, *n2. We'll write int temp is equal to *n1, *n1 equals *n2, *n2 equals temp. There we go. Close the body of the function, and that is a void function, not an int function. So let me change that real quick. All right. We already have a value for int1, so let's comment out. Yeah, we'll comment out this code right here. We'll say int num2 equals 200. Cout num1 indel. Cout num2 indel. Call the pswap function. And remember to use the address of operator for each of the arguments, since that's the only proper way to initialize a pointer. Then we'll just copy and paste these cout statements back. Control-C, Control-V. We want it to look good, so let's move that over 1. And now let's build and run to see what it does. And so num1 was 100, num2 was 200, and then after the call to pswap, num1 is 200 and num2 is 100. So there's a lot of similarity between the swap function using references and the swap function using pointers. The body looks almost the same other than just some syntactical differences when we use pointer calls, since we have to dereference our parameters. And then in the call to the function, we have to be sure to use the address of operator for both of the arguments that we're passing into the function. We're going to end this chapter with an exercise that uses pointers to help sort an array of data.